Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug.Show Live. Today we're going to talk about side hustles for, this point moving forward, 2025, beyond all that stuff. I got Brooks Conkle here hanging out with me. How you doing today?
Good, man. How are you on this Tuesday?
Doing really good, yeah. And we, I think we may have talked about it before. Like you were on a few weeks ago, and we were like, oh, we're gonna see each other at Fincon, and we did. We hung out a little bit, but I like typical. The first night I stay out a little too late, maybe the second night too, and then I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to bed early. I'm losing my voice. But how was Fincon for you?
I thought Fincon was good. It was good to see you. It was fun. It's fun to get to link up in person. You know, there's a mistake that I made this time, and I'm gonna try not to do it next time. Is like I saw a few people across the room, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to say hey to them. I'm like, no worries, I won't go interrupt. I'll see them later, and like literally just wouldn't see them again.
Yep.
Yeah, so I will try not to make that mistake again. But no, a good event, man. A good event as always. You've been like 37 times, I think, or 12 times, or I don't know.
It was my fourth, but it was like.
Okay, mine too. Cool.
Okay, yeah. So it's like since the pandemic, I've been to all of them, and then you caught one beforehand, right? The one in DC or something.
I've been to the last four. So basically, yes. So yeah, the last Austin, Orlando, New Orleans, and then Atlanta, wherever we just were. Atlanta,
yeah. And it was interesting for me. I grew up in Atlanta in the suburbs, and then I lived sort of around that area because I went to Georgia Tech, which is only like, I may have told you, it's only like a mile away. So like I was familiar with those neighborhoods and stuff. But yeah. So it was a little different because like if you live somewhere, like you almost never stay in a hotel downtown and like spend time there. So it was a little bit different and actually pretty cool. I mean, I heard from some people saying like, oh, Atlanta's much cooler than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, well, you just saw this little piece. It's not. I mean, I moved out of there, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one little chunk of it. But no, you're totally right. Yeah, you experience if you live in a place, you experience it completely differently than other people do. That's for sure.
So, in quick plug, it's in Portland next year. They lowered the ticket price. I think they may change some of the programming. It looked like it was a day shorter, perhaps, which suits me. I actually left on Saturday morning and missed the whole last day because it's like I kind of get my fill, and it's time to go home after a few days. So, when did you leave? Sunday morning, like most folks.
Saturday night. So I was rolling around Saturday with my luggage with me. I thought my flight was earlier than it was. It was that night, but I was just cruising around my suitcase like all day. I was like, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So, I think 1 day shorter is better too, in my opinion. Like for FinCon feedback. Not that they asked us, but you know, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, so people check it out. I think it's a little bit cheaper next year. Portland's a fun city. It's a good beer city. And I think it's at another Hyatt Regency, which was a great venue in Atlanta. So, okay, very good. We'll talk about probably some other stuff like that before we finish. But I'm on your newsletter, Brooks, and you sent out an email the other day talking about just like stuff that you're working on. And you mentioned a couple things that we'll dig into. And I think I noted here, email newsletters, domaining, podcasting, YouTube. You're also, you do some like local business stuff too. So last time you were on, we talked about the silent disco stuff. You ordered a bunch of headphones and you're able to run an event like that. But we're going to dig into some of these because it's all related to side hustles. Talk about the camper van. I watch a lot of YouTube and I'm sort of addicted, even though I'm pretty sure I would never stay long-term in a camper van. I watch so many people that are like van life, like they're in the world or they're adjacent. And I may rent one every now, like I haven't done this yet, but I'm like, I want to rent one and see how it goes. Cause there's some cool things you could do when you could just like wake up next to the trailhead instead of driving for an hour or two to get to it. So what's the deal with the camper van?
My friend on Facebook a couple hours ago, she was like, hey, you can just like you can just like rent one, right? If you want to test it out. Because
Yeah, you
I was
can
like,
rent anything.
I was exactly. Well, I was like, yeah, this is like a tester van for us to see if we want to like get into this lifestyle later. And she was, she was like, you can just rent one, right? I was like, yes, yeah, I do. But I figured why not jump all in? So so here's the background on the van is 20 years ago, I lived in a van for 4 months, man, in New Zealand, when I traveled there for a year and a half. So it's been 20 years of this thing like kind of brewing inside of me, I guess. I don't know. Well, the stars kind of aligned recently, and meaning I didn't have a car. Like, so we had it's a long story, but I helped my father load up a vehicle that was like this kind of, our family loves this vehicle and he wanted to keep it somewhere else. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm kind of carless. So I was like Ubering around and like bumming my wife's car. I was looking to get for any Tesla fans out there, there's a tax credit. If you get like a 5-year-old under $25,000, buy it from a dealership, $4,000 tax credit. I was hunting for that car. Short version of the story is I was trying to buy one from Hertz and it was all kind of crazy. I was going to fly out. It didn't work out. So I'm like, okay, I'm still carless. And this like comes on my radar, like the camper vans. I was like, wait a minute. If I get one small enough, I could literally just use this as like the vehicle that I need. So this car is not a spare vehicle for us. It's literally what I'm going to use to put around town when I need to, which is why I got one that wasn't like crazy big. The adventure part of it was me finding the deal. The deal was in Atlanta. Doug, I just returned back to literally the street we were on a few weeks ago. I negotiated with her name's Denise. She's now my friend, and I was like, she's gonna be my future friend because like I have to make sure she's real and like there's actually a car up here when I go. Man, I took a one-way Greyhound bus from Mobile. It was like it was $50. Yeah. This is 3 days ago, man. This is fresh. So one-way ticket up to Atlanta. I was like, wow, I literally just left. I just left from this place and went and met Denise, bought her van, drove it back to Mobile, and so now I have the van. I have a few like modifications I have to do to it, but I'm also thinking I can rent it out part-time. Don't know how much of that I'm going to do or how much of that I want to be bothered with, but it can be a side hustle itself.
Right. Okay.
So personal vehicle, recreational vehicle, and potentially I could put on like outdoorsy or whatever once I have it set up as a camper van. Okay.
And so, it looks like that's an insane story. Like is this one of the is it a Nissan? Is it one of those Nissans?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is
it's like an NV200 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't even know the model. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay.
I think NV200. Yeah. Nissan NV200.
Okay. It's a sort of a cropped picture, so I can't quite tell, but the only reason I know is some of my friends, they have a blog and social media, Trip of a Lifestyle. Have you run into Steven and Lauren before?
No, at Fincon. So this idea at Fincon wasn't even. I was like, yeah, I think I'm really interested in getting a camper van, and some people were telling me they were like, yeah, you need to connect with these people and these people. Anyway, all this has happened in a couple of weeks, and so, but no, what'd you say? Trip of a Lifestyle?
Yep. Yeah. So look them up. They have a blog and YouTube channel. And they had that same car and they drove it for a few years. It was their primary vehicle and they took it traveling. So they built a little platform. They were in town at one point. Nice. So they gave me the little tour of the van. So they're not like super handy or anything. They just built the platform, kept it simple. And like, I think they maybe added an extra battery. So they had some, extra power like inside the cab area. But yeah, they lived and traveled. I think they drove to Alaska. I mean, they traveled all over the country in that thing. So check out their stuff because they potentially have some tips. And then as a side note, your friend, I'm with that person who's like, you could rent stuff and test it out, and then you don't have to pay for insurance, maintenance, all the other stuff. It costs more on a per I mean, it's kind of expensive, right? Because I've looked into some of these, and it might be $200 a night. I mean, this is expensive as a hotel or more, and you have to pay for fuel, but it's still way cheaper than like buying a van. Or actually, I had friends like buy a vacation home instead of just like, you don't know if you're going to like living like way in the mountains, like just rent a place for like a month or 2 or 3 instead of buying like a $800,000 house. Like you can still unroll that, but it's harder to sell an $800,000 house in the deep mountains versus like just renting one. So, but I think you're going to be fine, Brooks. It's going to work out perfect.
So I agree 100% with that thought process. So I'll point out my thinking. 1, I found a great deal. 2, it's also a commercial van. And so like, I just looked at like, basically I bought it for what I think it's a little bit less than, or at least the same is probably what I could just turn around and just strip it out and sell it to like a commercial company. So I was like, that's kind of what I was talking to my wife about. I was like, hey, like worst case scenario, I get in this thing and a year later, I'm like, oh, I haven't been camping once. So I was like, I'll just sell it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I actually needed a car. So
yeah, that's true.
So that's the difference. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, one thing that I've looked into and thought about is like selling my truck. So I have an old, like it's almost 20-year-old truck now. And it's fine. I hardly drive. And have you been to Longmont yet? Have you been out here? I'm trying to remember. So there's a lot of the, fire people, early retired folks, and a lot of them, they really enjoy biking. And I'm not big to bike on roads. I actually don't feel safe out there, but there's a ton of greenways. And then finally, basically I have an e-bike on the way. So I like hunted around, got a little obsessed, and I've been on them before. So to answer the testing thing, like I've been on them before. And I do have a bike, but it's like not quite as comfortable as I would like. And I know there's some stuff I could change. But anyway, I'm at a spot where potentially, except in the winter could be a little rougher. It's warmer down where you're at. But like if I sold my truck, probably like, I don't know, 50 to 80% of my like transportation around here could be on the e-bike, especially if I get comfortable on like the actual roads or quieter roads. I don't think I would go on like busy roads or anything like that, but people do. I mean, people like ride their fucking bike all the way to Boulder, which is like 15 miles away, like on a big, kind of a bigger highway, freeway type situation. Crazy. But biking is very popular around here. So the point being, depending on the town, it may not be very friendly for bikes or that sort of thing. But like, I'm like, oh, I got an e-bike coming, and I probably should be able to get to most places. I mean, a lot of places I could just walk to. Like I just happen to be in a good little spot. But you needed the car also. So
yeah, like I can live. I prefer to be in a place where you don't need a car. I'll be honest, but in my city, you gotta have something. And it was kind of working. This is only like a month and a half. My wife was like, "Hey." She's like, Brooks, I'm kind of tired of you bumming my car all the time. I'm like, hey, look, if I need to go, hey, like, you don't need it or whatever. And I have taken like a handful of Ubers or something in the last 6 weeks. But I mean, to me, that's actually kind of fun though. If I'm being honest, like, oh, it's kind of like a fun piece of the adventure. I'm also in the camp, Doug. I'm in the camp that I think maybe it's a little farther out than I'm thinking, but I'm kind of thinking like, man, we're just not going to need cars. Like we're going to have these driverless vehicles. They're going to be autonomous. Like I'll probably buy one of those and ride around in that, and then let that thing go around and be rented out, and that'll hopefully be an income stream if like whatever if whatever Elon Musk is saying comes to fruition and is true. Maybe it's 5 years out. I don't know. Maybe it's 7 years out. But like I just feel like it's really like close. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's further out than whatever Elon is like, oh, it's always the end of the year or next year. It's like, whatever, dude. But
always just around the corner. It's just around the corner. Yeah.
But I was eventually, I think I probably will end up with a Tesla as well. All my friends have them and they really like them. They like the technology, the FSD, the full self-driving. Like one of my friends uses it all the time. It's so much better than it was. Cause the first time I was like, dude, it's going to mow that. Like it almost hit a person. I'm like, all right, we got to get it under control. Yeah. But the last couple, I mean, my buddy picked me up and we went all the way to Breckenridge, which is like 100 some odd miles, like on the highway. Like it did fine. There's roundabouts, and like it did fine the whole way. I don't think he had to intervene at all. But yeah, people seem pretty happy with their Teslas overall.
I've heard FSD has gotten crazy good. So look, man, I had one before. I had a 2014 Model S Tesla.
Oh,
it
nice.
was like one of the first models that got shipped with self-driving. I didn't think it had it when I bought it. I bought it in Atlanta, actually. That's the last time I traveled up to buy a car in Atlanta. 10-year-old vehicle, had the technology, and I thought it was cool. Now, obviously, I wasn't letting it like drive anywhere, but it was like interstate, man. I mean, I remember turning it on while I owned it. Like, it was nuts. I can only imagine what 10 years of technology does. And like the ones that are there right now that are training, like how crazy is it, all that data that they're continuing to gather to make it even better? That's just why I think that it is, it is kind of inevitable that like, hey, if you want a car that doesn't, you don't have to drive, like, yeah, like we'll totally have them.
All right, let's move on a little bit here. So
Sure.
One sort of simpler, very popular side hustle that I didn't realize people were still doing this, domain name flipping. So you've been doing this for a while, right? Like what's the general business model? How's it going for you? How can someone get started?
I just got into it, man. So I just got into it. I was like, I want to do this. So like I'm trying to buy 100 names. I have like 90 something names, like 5 or 6 or something more that I'll buy. Here's the I don't know if I told you this last time. Here's the reason why I'm kind of like I'm getting into it. Two things. One, I actually accidentally sold a domain name like probably 5 years ago. And I thought it was a scam. I can tell you the story, but I sold it for like $1,200. So it was a real estate domain name. I had it in GoDaddy. We no longer needed it. I didn't even know what it meant to click the little button of like, oh, sell the, yeah, you want to list it? I'm like, sure. I don't know what that means, but like, sure. If someone will pay me, whatever, $1,200. Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Didn't think anything of it because I was going to let it expire like 8 months later. I don't know. So I guess 7 months later, I get an email like, oh, like, hey, your payment's ready. And it looked kind of sketchy because it's like GoDaddy. No, it's GoDaddy, but some of their emails were kind of like old school. It was like After Nick is a company After Nick. They're so I thought it was a scam. Turns out, no, I got the money deposited. So I don't know why I didn't get neck deep into it then, but I guess I was just doing whatever I was doing. Then a few months ago, I met a kid that just graduated from college. And we just started talking about like SEO and side hustles. And I could tell we were speaking the same language. He brought up domain flipping. While he was in college, this kid probably did like 6 figures in flips, like sales. He owns, I don't know if he still does right now, but like a little over like 1,000 domains, which is crazy because that's like $10,000 per year that like he has to pay and like renewal fees. But that got me excited. It got me excited in the sense of like, I was like, wait a minute, I'm already like a big believer in real estate. I already get real estate. This is just digital real estate. So like, okay, the end. Like, let me buy some vacant lots and sit on them, or I can develop them, or I can try to, proactively sell them. I've sold 0 over the last like 3 months or whatever, whenever I've started this, but I've almost got to 100. My goal is to get to 100 and then kind of like lay low and just kind of hang out. That's my goal.
Okay. And then you just picked
Did I answer your question on how to get started? Probably not.
So you sold one, and then it was kind of an accident, and you haven't sold any since you got the 90 some odd. Okay.
Yeah. I've kind of bought them in stages. I bought them in chunks. Like over the last like 3 weeks, I probably bought like 3 or 4 more. I'm looking at the email actually. So like, actually I just bought this one, which is probably a pretty solid domain. I'm gonna call him Buddy. This actually is an online guy that showed up in my feed 3 months ago when I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I bought my first ones from him. He like lives in Spain. I randomly sent this dude like money on PayPal, and he transferred some domains to me, and that got me going. Out of those 100, He just sold me weeklyemail.com, which I think has some like pretty solid value. I don't know. He had been wanting to sell it, and I was like, nah, I can't justify the price. But he kept like lowering the number anyway. So I just bought that. I don't know if I'll build it or just I'll probably just literally sit on it. Probably put a price on it and let it. So let me say that loud to the people. On the domain, you can set up like a landing page, and that landing, you've probably been to one before where it'll say like, oh, this domain's for sale, and it could even have a price. Like on there. And that is what I'm doing on the majority of mine is I'm setting up landing pages via Afternic and letting Afternic kind of, it's like out in the marketplace. So anyone lands on this page and they're hunting for this domain, they could like buy it, or they could do like lease payments actually as well, which is pretty crazy.
Lease payments. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I'll try to go to one while we're chatting. But apparently I bought Hello Sunsets recently. I thought that was a good name. I bought buildinecomestreams.com. That's probably for me personally. I'll probably use that. I don't know if I'll sell that. And then I bought Dog Mom Humor recently. I may build a project on that, or I may not. You know what I mean? I'm not really sure. But
yeah, there's only so many things you could spend time on. Interesting.
Oh man.
Well, the thing is, like, I know for me, when I've looked at domains, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to, and it's for sale. Someone is squatting on it. I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to figure out another name, and I just move on. There's only one.
Yeah, sure.
And it's actually Mile High Fi Podcast. Like my friend and I were like, it's a good name. We want that name. So I think my buddy negotiated them down to like $600 or 800 or something like that. It was like it was sub 1,000. We were like, okay, it's not too bad. But we're like, these jackasses buying these domains, squatting on it. So I don't love it. I don't love it.
These people. Do you remember? Do you remember what the original list price was for it, by any chance? Higher than 600, I guess.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like 2,000, and then like went down from there, and like we were stuck at 1,200 for a little while, and then I think eventually we were just like, we'll pay you this, and it worked out. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing with domains, because it's crazy, man. So there's professional investors out there that have portfolios of thousands, and they may just be like, nah, bro, like I'm not, no, absolutely not. Like, good luck. Like, come back later if you want it. Like, this is my plot of land.
Yeah.
Or you may be talking to a kid. You may be talking to a kid that's in college that like
right.
that had $30 and they bought 3 domains. And they're like, what? I can make $600? Like, I've got the, you know what I mean? So you don't know who you're like negotiating with on the other side. So
that's true.
It's an interesting game, man.
Well, the other cool part too, I'm no lawyer, so people check with your experts. Basically,
Me neither.
We started using the name. So it's like the person can't sell it anymore, because if someone tries to use it, we'll be like, you can't use that. We've been using this name for like 5 years. So, sorry. You could keep it, but I'm not going to pay any money for it. So go fuck yourself. So.
Ooh, I like that. I like that strategy.
Yeah. So start using it, and then like you own the trademark, copyright, all that kind of stuff. So, okay, cool. Anything else with the domain area before we move on to another?
Yeah, sure. People ask me, they're like, well, how do you know how much a domain is worth? I'm like, nah, man. How do you know how much that lot next door to you is worth? It's like, it's so subjective, and there are tools so I could pick a domain right now, and we could go to a few different tools, and it could be from like $700 up to like $7,000. I'm just throwing out these numbers. That's how wide, varying it is. At the end of the day, something is worth whatever someone's willing to pay you for it, right? Kind of to you guys, that domain was worth $600. Maybe someone else would have paid $3,000 or $2,000 or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Well, subjective.
Yeah. And it's like, it's tough to negotiate too. Like, you can't be too, like on either side, like you can't be too abrasive. You kind of, let's meet in the middle. You have to be willing to compromise some, and like, I don't know, on both sides, really like put out the offer where you're like, I don't know where the price discovery zone is. Like you have to kind of figure it out. And if you go too high, then you're going to, or too low, then you're going to like damage the negotiation relationship a little bit, but it's hard to figure out.
Yeah. You could always drop that, that message of like, I'm just a kid in the school trying to start a project. I really need your help in getting a good fair price on this domain. You know, I feel like that happens all the time. At least the outreach does. Yeah.
Okay. So next we have the Amazon Influencer Program, which I still haven't gotten started with it. I don't know. I keep dragging my feet and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do it. But the bad thing is I've heard about it like 2+ years ago. And I think if I would have gotten started a couple years ago, then I'd probably be in a interesting place right now. But you've been doing this for a little while.
Yeah, it's funny. What are you just like rolling through my email newsletter? Is that what we're doing? We're just going from we're just going from topic to topic, man. You're like, next up we have Amazon Influence. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So in my newsletter, me writing about it, it's been interesting and fun to just kind of like update and track projects. It's been pretty cool. Like I haven't always done that in my newsletter. It's actually a newer thing. It's only like within the last year. I was like, wait a minute, like what if I just start like these are things I'm working on that are interesting to me, and like let me just like treat this as almost like an updating journal or whatever. So it's actually helped me to keep decent records so that I could like update this stuff. Amazon Influencer. Here's what I'd say: if you're busy doing what you're doing, don't even touch it. Like I mean, that's my honest opinion. I've made over $2,000 so far. This holiday season, I'll probably make some bank because apparently like November, December is where you really start making some cheddar. But it's its own separate hustle that most likely is not going to connect directly with anything else that you're doing. For me, I'll be honest with you. The reason I did it is so that it's also like content for me to talk about in my newsletter, to say, hey, this could be something you could do. I may even create I've learned a lot, man. Like I've learned a ton of tips and stuff from doing it. So I may even create like a little mini product that's like a little cheap product that's, I don't know, like $30 or something. Like, hey, here's my cheat sheet to like Amazon, you know, to like grow in the Amazon influencer. So it may lead to like stuff for my main brand. I will also say, if you're listening and you're like, I need to make some cash, I want to do stuff online, I do think this is a good, like an easy way for people to get started in an online, like, I don't know if you can call it a business per se, but like an online side hustle. Mm-hmm. And you can ask me anything you want about it or whatever based on that. You know, I've probably made a couple hundred videos personally. I've also hired out some videos. So I just hired out. Had 40 made, and I had another 30 probably like 6 months ago. So now I've paid influencers to make 70 videos for me that are on my storefront.
Okay, and so you have a few hundred videos total.
Yeah. So I honestly don't even know, because you can't like count them on your storefront. But I have a spreadsheet with like what I've made. So that's like 120 plus 70. Yeah, probably 200-ish. Yeah, ballpark.
Okay. And you just record on your phone. Probably most people are like, yeah, they went off into kind of video. Okay, cool. And it's just stuff laying around your house aside from the outsourced portion.
Yep. Stuff laying around my house. You'd be interested. Like if you're an Amazon customer already, you'll be like, oh, I don't have that much. Just go to your order history and start scrolling through, and you'll be like, oh, I mean, it could be something that you bought 3 years ago, right?
Right.
That you forgot you had that you can make a video on if you want to. Yeah.
And I've done a couple interviews, one with Jared Bauman, who has a course over on Authority Hacker. They sort of partnered up and worked together on creating that, because Jared's been doing it like fairly seriously for over a year, and I think he made like $40K in a year time frame or so. he framed it the same
Yeah.
way, where it's just like probably not going to be like replacement income, but it's a great way to get started online as a side hustle. And, for me, one of the other reasons I dragged my feet and have been and still haven't done anything with it is like Amazon usually is not a good partner, and they usually change the rules like once you get rolling. So it's like, like everything,
Yeah.
it feels like it's saturated no matter when you're doing it. And now there's like even more people. Like, how many followers or how much span of influence do you need to have to be accepted? I feel like I heard recently, like you could just apply. It doesn't even have to be that many.
Yeah, as far as I know, unless they've changed it, Amazon doesn't tell you. They don't tell you this is the criteria you need, but you do have to have like social channels that you kind of plug in there. And then yeah, I've heard of people getting like spend $15 on TikTok, get 1,000 followers and like get in. So, or people just like with an old Facebook page, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not hardcore, but I mean, obviously they want to see that you have some sort of like online, influence or whatever. But
Got it.
I don't even remember what I submitted. I think it was just like my local media, like Facebook page. The Mobile Rundown, I think, is the social channel for my influencer account.
Yep. And I've heard, same thing. Like there's no published number because then people would automatically like game the system. So it's a little mysterious. And as long as you have like some social channels, like you're in there. So anyway, I'm like, it's a good place to get started. But I'm like, do I really like, I don't really feel like it. So I'm a little bit lazy about it.
Your point there is a good point. It's valid, and I think it's now how I actually feel about Google and about any platform, man. So Amazon for sure. Like I wasn't way into the associates program when I know like rates got like cut drastically, and a lot of people had like incomes drop off or whatever. For sure. I think that's just like a good business lesson that like, okay, like we're not in charge. It's not our product. It's not our platform. We don't make the rules. And hey, at the end of the day, there's a repercussion for the platform, for the business to do that too. Amazon, I'm sure, had a lot of, affiliate marketers basically who were like, okay, cool. I'm replacing all your links. I'm going to Walmart or eBay or whatever. I don't know, Best Buy or something like that has a program. So like, but it's the way I see all platforms now, man. I do think that it'll slow down once it grows, right? Because I mean, think about it. How many videos do you need on these earbuds or whatever? I don't know. So like these earbuds, once there's like they have a dozen videos, like you don't need any more videos. I guess there could be like newer products come out, and so they'll need new videos. But I could totally see it like slowing down at some point. So.
And yeah, and the thing is like, so if you're a beginner, it's worth checking out. I'm more advanced. I've been doing this for a few years and I'm just like, I don't want to, and I can't emphasize my laziness enough. So I just don't want to do it. but if you're like, hey, I want to get in there and try some stuff online, it's like one of the lowest friction ways to do it. Basically you can get started for free. You just need a little bit of a social following. So
yeah. And like, it's pretty, it is cool when you make the first dollar from like any online platform, when you're doing something new and you're like, oh, cool, I just made my first dollar. It is pretty quick in Amazon. It's pretty cool. I think, I don't know the number of weeks, but immediately like you start publishing videos. They start getting some views and then you're tracking it literally on a daily basis. You'll probably like for the first like 3 weeks, I was obsessed with like logging in every morning and being like, what happened yesterday? What happened? Be like, oh, $2.37. And I was like, woo, like pumped up about it. But, no, Jared, Jared, but he is legit. He knows what's up. It's interesting how he's run it as a side hustle, but like, dude, if you can make 40K a year like that, like you could focus on it, full. Now I wouldn't put all my eggs in the Amazon influencer basket, but like, dude, that is a dadgum full-time income for some people, which is like amazing.
Yeah, and I'll tell like my story. There's no one specific here other than me, but like with the Amazon affiliate program, I got hit it was like 2017 and 2020. But basically to your point, I never relied on like solely on that income source, even though it was quite a lot. At the same time, like I knew it could go away and or get slashed because it wasn't under my control. But the point is, I do know many people that were counting on that income specifically, and when it went away overnight, like literally overnight, that's the thing. It's like it's not a gradual change. It's like the SEO changes that we've been seeing, right? So it's like it goes away, and then they're like, I don't know what to do. The old strategies stop working. So you're like, you go back, you're like, I'll get back to basics. I'll do what I'm supposed to. And then like those things don't work, which is a good transition to, you alluded to it before, like the SEO landscape changing. And you published a video just a couple days ago here on like why SEO is changing so fast and how to adapt. What's the thesis of this video?
The thesis is like, look around Google in your recent searches, so I know a lot of people who are out of business over the last year from their niche websites. My traffic over the last year and a half, 2 years, I probably dropped I shouldn't say overarching. At some point I dropped 70 to 80% of like search traffic, and search traffic was my main traffic source for my brands. So I have a few like small projects rewind back 2 years ago, and I had like 5. I was like, cool, this is great. I like this SEO train. This is pretty exciting. So I was like, I had 5 projects a year ago. I was like, no way. Like, so I've just completely ignored 3 because I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever work on them again. Like the SEO, tactic does not work. So I'm focusing on my personal brand and my local media brand. But yeah, man, Google's in disruption, and like so OpenAI just bought chat.com. I don't know what they paid for it. Domain. It was a domain flip, actually.
Wow. Yeah.
The guy that sold it is Dharmesh, who's the CEO of HubSpot. So he paid like $15 million for it apparently, and so he just sold it to OpenAI. We don't know what the sale price was.
Yeah.
Yeah, undisclosed. Apparently, he may have sold it for about the same, and then maybe got some like stock options or something in OpenAI. But anyways, okay. But the point there is that I would just ask everyone, like, as a user, what are you doing? Like, are you using Google exactly the same as you used to? And when you go there and search, what are you seeing? Like, I'm seeing an AI overview at the top, giving you information, not getting you to go visit a website. And I'm seeing forums more and more. I'm seeing Reddit on page 1 of Google for everything. Of course, they did a business deal with Reddit. But my point there is that like that's disruption. It's disruption in the marketplace, and I don't own Google. A lot of people are pissed off and angry at Google for not getting ranked, and I empathize, and I've been somewhat affected too. But like, I don't know, man. I kind of have the mantra of like this is business. Like, things change. You gotta pivot and innovate or whatever. Luckily, I'm crazy and I have all these different income streams. Like, so it's like where me being a little bit crazy comes to my benefit. When one like leg gets knocked out, I'm like, well, that's okay. I'm still kind of hobbling around, so I'm cool. But that's my view on SEO, like, and disruption. Like what are you seeing? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, you summarized it really well. I definitely, from a user standpoint, I've seen like worse results from Google. I typically don't like Reddit results. I would say for me personally, it's probably only like 10 to 20% of the time where it actually provides an answer without a lot of nonsense and bickering over details that don't matter.
A lot of bickering on Reddit.
That's the nature, depending on the topic. Like that can be a good thing where there's a lot of nuance, but other times people are just like, they're fake experts on a given topic. The couple things that like hit home where were like non-SEO, like general population people saying, oh yeah, I tried to search for this thing and they can't find it. And they don't know what Reddit is. They don't want to use it. The AI overviews are, I mean, it's a crapshoot, right? It's maybe accurate part of the time, but not always, depending on the topic. That may or may not be a worthwhile risk to take. And then, yeah, to your point, it's just like SEO has gotten a little bit harder gradually over the last few years to where now it's like wildly volatile, unpredictable. And from where I sit, the email that I wrote today was about like side hustles and like SEO. I'm not saying it's dead. I'm just saying like it's it doesn't apply for people that are trying to do side hustles where it's like their time is actually going to be is it worthwhile for them to put effort into SEO? For most people, I would say no. If you have a business where you have to do SEO, all right, you're going to have to figure some stuff out. Maybe it's a local business or something like that. But for the shit that I was doing before, huge waste of time. Like, I don't know if there's anything around to replace it as far as a side hustle. There's digital products, there's email lists, you could do podcasts, YouTube. There's tons of things you can do online. But from an SEO perspective, I'm like, yeah, this is a serious waste of time for people that are like, hey, I'm going to blog and maybe get some traffic from Google. Not going to happen. Like, I don't think it's going to happen anymore. Yeah. And if it does happen, because I know it's so volatile, it could happen again. It's not going to be long lasting. It's just going to be like a flash in the pan and you're going to get the rug pulled out again because it's just happened too many times. So also Google, not a good partner.
Yeah, no, those are good thoughts, man. I'm with you on those. A few things you said, you're talking about in addition to SEO, you're like, yeah, maybe there's all this other stuff you can do, these other channels like, podcasts, email lists, etc. So going back to that video that you asked me, what was my premise behind it? That was part of the point I was making is that like, I think like if you want to build a business online, I think it's all about like optimizing for the web in whatever that means. So instead of search engine optimization, it's web optimization, or you just have to change your definition of what a search engine is, because, and like I don't mean just like a window where you go in and like type in what you want. I just mean like where are people exploring and getting served information? Like that could be in Reddit, or it may be via email or a podcast or whatever. So that was one of the things you said, and there's another thing I was going to say too, and I don't recall. Oh, Google, not a good partner. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm with you. If some stuff comes back, great. If it doesn't, hey, look for the next opportunity, and continue laying bricks and taking steps and building out a brand. Like if that is someone's goal, to build a business or an online presence or brand or whatever. So,
and I do wonder, because like whenever things change dramatically, there's always it removes our expertise, right? So I've been doing SEO for a little while. You have too. There's other people out there when we used to say, oh, do this or do that, but now whatever we were doing before isn't really working before. So it does remove our expertise and our experience. So it's like leveling the playing field. So there's all this opportunity. There's no rules. People could try stuff and see if it works. The thing is, it's like the guru types, which we YouTubers and creators usually hate to be called gurus, but like people call us gurus, right? So the guru type folks do not have the answers for you anymore. So it's like if you're going around trying to find the answer, they don't have it. They're telling you something that might work. Sometimes they've tested something. It kind of worked for them. They're perhaps teaching about it sometimes. I mean, that's their business model, right? Like, I mean, this is inside baseball, but it's like, you're like, oh, I learned some things. Maybe I could have a cheat sheet that I could sell about Amazon influencer. You have a proven track record. You could show people what you've learned and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's what we're supposed to do, and you're a few steps ahead. So it's a perfect way to like teach people, but who knows how long Amazon influencer is going to be operating in the same capacity. It could be once Amazon has enough stuff, enough video reviews, they may throttle it down a little bit. So it's just like, we don't know where we are in the wave. Like, you're going up, you're coming down. Like, where's the tide? So it's crazy out there.
It is crazy out there. I'm totally with you though, but I think like I feel like that's like business. I feel like that's business. Like if you're, like if you're in business, like oh, I don't know, if I'm McDonald's and I'm like, oh man, this Chipotle just opened across the street. Like, dang, that sucks. But like, it's out of my control. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, what can I focus on, or how can we adjust, or how can we adapt? People care about their health. They don't want to eat fries. Okay, well, we better like adjust our menu. I don't know. I feel like it's business, and like doesn't mean it's not hard as all get out when something is working really well and you can build an entire business on one strategy. Like I'm not saying we shouldn't. Like, look, man, I was all about that. I was like, cool, let me put 80% of my efforts into SEO because this is working, man. I'm like writing these articles and I'm getting this traffic. This is great. I was literally doing like calculations. Okay, how many more writers can I hire? Because the ROI on this makes sense when I pay X amount per article and I'm going to grow to it was a business tactic and it was working. And then it was not working. But when it's not working, I genuinely feel for a lot of people that like, we're like, what the F do I do, man? Like, I'm done. Like, I literally went from whatever revenue to zero. And that is tough, but that's also business, I guess, it's hard, man. I mean, everything is technically hard. Amazon influencer, that's easy. People should go get started on Amazon influencer if they want to. That is actually pretty easy way to make some cash.
You're 100% right. And I think another good example is just like, you have the restaurant or whatever, and it doesn't even have to be related to competition or like your actual products. They could like do construction like they do everywhere, do construction in front of your restaurant, and then it moves the traffic. There's a detour. You don't get the same traffic, or it's a pain in the ass to get to it. And it's just like that construction project is going on for a year and it will kill your business. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Happening in my city right now. Funny you say that. Like less than a half a mile from where I stand. A street's been closed for a year. They're installing a roundabout at the top, redoing all the underground structure, and there are some businesses at the bottom, and it's completely out of their control. So the question is like what now, right? Like what's the rebound? What's the pivot?
It's crazy. Yep. So, I mean, I'm being negative, and in some of you read some like psychology books, I bet, and business books and stuff too. But it's just like, I realize I'm taking sort of a more critical route, and I'm like, hey, it's crazy out there. It's rough. You got to be careful. Can't trust. It makes me sound like I really know what I'm talking about, but I'm not giving you any answers, right? So like, I'm glad you're coming in. You're like, it is business. You got to deal with it anyway. And there's a route. Like, I think there will be some other cool side hustles that come out of this, but it's going to be like a real bumpy ride. There's going to be people that like catch something on the way up and then it goes away, and other people where it's like, if they started an AI YouTube channel a year ago and they've just been drilling on it, covering the news, I bet they're doing awesome. They're going to be fine on the other side where, I'm talking about like keyword research on my channel, or I was talking about keyword research. It's just like, no one gives a shit about that. People are like, SEO sucks. I'm not doing it. So like, if you look at the views on my channel from like a few years ago, used to get tens of thousands of views for a video. Now it's like a few hundred. It's kind of crazy when you look at it. And luckily I was not earning much money directly from YouTube, so I never really gave a shit. So I'm just like, a lot of views, probably got lucky. Not many views, maybe I'm unlucky. I don't know. I don't take much credit for it.
No, it's a valid point. I don't think you're being negative, and I don't think we're being negative at all. Like, if you kind of just look at like life in that scenario, like life is gonna, like, it's beautiful, it's awesome, but it's also hard as hell, and it's gonna punch you in the face, and then less than 100 years from now, you and I aren't even gonna be here. Like we're gonna die. So it's like, it's okay. Like, it's okay for stuff to be a little, to have some hard stuff to it. That's perfectly fine. Like all of life is like that. Yeah, the stuff. I'm with you. Riding the stuff, looking for opportunities. One thing, just to say this too, and I don't know if this will help with someone maybe that's going to watch this at some point later, is that I'm seeing this thing of like online platforms wanting to grow their own audiences more and more and more. So, for example, Facebook is doing this. Facebook, people are like, Facebook, anybody uses Facebook? Yeah, apparently like 2 to 3 billion people are like daily active users on Facebook. I think it's like 2 billion or something. So like, yeah. But I use Facebook every day. I'm not sure if you do or not, but like they've adjusted their feed dramatically over the last year. It used to be, you're like sharing and connecting and posting with your friends. Now it's very TikTok-ish. You wouldn't notice it if you didn't know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, it'll make sense. You're now seeing pages and things that you don't follow already, but Facebook thinks you're going to be entertained by this. That's a new thing on Facebook. That did not exist before. And now, so Facebook, I'm sure people have heard of the Facebook bonus program, which I do not have any pages in it. But I know people making thousands of dollars per month, literally by helping keep people on the Facebook platform and making entertaining content. Like, that's nuts, man. Like, that opportunity did not even exist. Like 6 or 7 months ago. I don't know. Like, I think this program's fairly new. Like, maybe it's less than a year, I think. Have you heard about that? The bonus program?
A little bit. And funny thing, I didn't even know it existed until it had been around for a little while. And I was like, oh, I guess people are making good money with it. But I haven't looked into the details too much. But yeah, very interesting. And especially like you said, they've changed the algorithm, again, algorithms and that sort of thing you have to deal with. So it's like there's going to be winners and losers out of that, and people are going to figure out like how to make this a system and run with it, and then like marketers abuse it. But yeah, are you working with it?
So I'm not in so it's like an invite. You have to get invited into the bonus program. Apparently my local media page was in it and I didn't know it, and I think it got removed, and they didn't I've kind of like tried to go through Facebook and like contact them or whatever. I don't really know what the deal is there, but I'm no longer in it. But that's part of what I'm doing is like one of my little hustly projects. I mean, I like publicly share a page that like I'm growing just for fun. And I want to see if I can get invited into it, because if I can, then I'll double down and just reinvest everything that I've been investing on that page into more growth. So, but no, I personally know people making 3,000. I've heard of people making tens of thousands, like people with giant pages making tens of thousands of dollars paid from Facebook, all for just content that they're making. And it's about helping keep people on the Facebook platform.
Right. Not
having them leave the Facebook platform, which makes sense, right? If you're a business, that's what you want. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Man.
And I'm curious to see like where that'll go, because it's another situation where it's like, like you're saying, you got to own the platform that you're on, or like it can be a good way to bring in some money to test, especially if you're a creator type. But at the end of the day, it's like you need to be able to like contact your clients or your audience directly, and you don't have to go through. I mean, we saw it before with Facebook in like 2014 or whatever. So it's just like the more we do business, like the more we understand it's like, this is interesting, but we need to make sure we have like a stronger connection. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I think, I like, to me, the point there is to look at all of this stuff from a bigger bird's eye view and be like, stuff changes and stuff can go in one direction and it can come back the way it was. And like that, these businesses, these platforms, they're also in the business of trying to grow and like make money. And if that means at times rewarding people to make content or do certain things, then they're going to do it. But it doesn't mean it'll last forever, because things will change. I know that's like big level thinking, but like I just think it's the way we have to like think about all these these platforms. I think.
All right, Brooks, this has been a lot of fun. We're coming up to the top of the hour. So where should people find you out there?
They can Google my name if they want, Brooks Conkle, and follow me or just like connect with me however they want. So they can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn or YouTube is really, I'd rather like come over to my YouTube channel and comment. Or if they can go to fulltimesidehustler.com and that's my email newsletter. So.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Google them. That helps the algorithm. It helps Google understand. Yeah. Do you have do you got the knowledge panel going on?
Apparently I do. Someone told me that at Fincon. They were like, "Oh, you have a knowledge panel." I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Good work. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I didn't do anything. I don't know.
Yeah. Mine showed up recently too. I was like, "Oh, cool." I don't know if I agree with all that on there, but at least Google has found enough references online to make a decision on that. So, all right, cool. Google nice. Brooks Conkle, and I believe I've linked I titled this so people could follow the link and get back to your channel. Yep, that's correct. And sign up for the email list, all that kind of stuff. So cool. Brooks, it's always fun to catch up, and we'll sign off here, but I'll talk to you on the other side just for a minute.
All right, man. Sounds good.